Again, good evening, everyone. I appreciate you joining us at this late hour. I'm joined by Public Works Commissioner Nate Martin, Police Commissioner Joseph Gramalia. It's been a challenging 6 days in our community as we all try to get back on our feet from the tragic winter storm that hit Buffalo and Western New York. Tonight, I'm announcing that the travel ban in the city of Buffalo will be lifted just after midnight at 12:01 a.m. I'm also announcing that Buffalo City Hall will be open tomorrow. In regards to the storm cleanup, significant progress has been made on main streets, secondaries, and residentials. I've toured many areas across the city over the last few days, and I'm pleased with the progress that has been made. I want to thank Commissioner Martin for leading this coordinated effort. Today alone, we had over 450 pieces of equipment across the city, plowing and hauling snow. We still have a ways to go, but we have come a long way in just a couple of days. This will allow our residents to get back to work, allow them to get to supermarkets, pharmacies, and to get to medical appointments. I'm asking people to still be cautious, and if you don't need to drive, please don't. A travel advisory will be in place as the storm cleanup continues, and lots of equipment will be on city streets hauling and removing snow. Also, many traffic signals are still out. Please approach these traffic intersections with caution and treat them as four-way stops. Finally, I want to thank all of the assistance we've received locally and statewide. I want to thank Governor Kathy Hochul for all of the resources that she has provided and for directing the mutual aid that has come in to assist the city of Buffalo. Finally, according to National Grid, from a high of 20,000 customers that were out of power, we are now down to 3 customers that are out of power, and National Grid is still working aggressively and working with city plows to reach those 3 customers and make sure that their power is restored as quickly as possible. Now, for more information on the storm cleanup, I'm going to turn things over to Commissioner Martin. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the mayor said we made really good, significant progress in the cleanup with that 450 piece of equipment that we've had, a little bit over that. So in terms of the mains and secondaries, we've got about 95% of those mains cleared from a pass perspective, 80% roughly, maybe a little bit more than that of the secondaries. And as of tonight, we'll have 100% of those residentials as a first pass. Certainly as a first pass, you can have any access going through there, but a lot of them are actually a lot more clear than that. So we have some actually cleared from the full street width. So we've got a lot of progress throughout the city, and then the number of equipment will stay in place until we're through with the cleanup. So as the mayor said, use caution when you're out. We'll have large snow piles that we're still continuing to remove with that equipment. We'll have loaders and dump trucks all over parts of the city moving snow. So when you're out, please use caution, travel carefully around them, and just travel slowly. If you're coming up to an intersection, you have a large pile on either side, so just use some caution. And as the mayor said, stop lights, if they are blinking red, they are a four-way stop. Please treat them and travel very carefully. A quick reminder, the sanitation and recycling is suspended still at this point in time, and alternate parking, we have that suspended. So stay in your place at this point in time with the parking. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Martin. During the course of the storm, the Buffalo Police Department has been very active in a variety of different ways. To give you an update on the activities of the Buffalo Police Department today, we'll now hear from Police Commissioner Joseph Gramalia.
Thank you, Mayor. As we had discussed before, the volume of backlog of 911 calls going back to the beginning of the storm have all been caught up. Each of the 5 patrol districts have worked extremely hard, diligently to get through those backlogs of calls. Our search and recovery teams have also gotten to all of the check the welfare calls and all of the other pending 911 calls in search of missing persons. They will be back out again tomorrow. They will be going back to some of the areas where there were calls for deceased persons, but we're unable to locate anything. We will keep at that effort. Our search teams will still be out there. Our anti-looting detail made another arrest. We're up to 10 arrests. Another arrest was made around the dinner hour today. They are still out there. They are still enforcing. They are still preventing. And our unit just went out again for the night shift. So it's a daytime, nighttime detail. We will still be vigorously enforcing that. The district attorney put out an announcement today about the arraignment of 4 of those defendants. There will be more arraignments coming. We've made more identifications. We are still putting finishing touches on some of those identifications. More arrests will be coming. As I've said multiple times, we will be making more arrests. I strongly urge a lot of these incidents that had video. You're out there, you've been on social media, you've been on TV, do yourself a favor, make things very easy for yourself. Just come in and turn yourself in, accept the consequences and the responsibility of what you did so we can get these businesses back on track to serve the community that they are there for. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll now open up to questions that the media has.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We do have a question from Tim Wegner. Tim, you can go ahead and unmute.
Mayor, good evening. Thanks for the time. A question for you and a question for the Commissioner Martin, that is. Mayor, following the back and forth today in the briefings, I'm curious if you have had any communication at all with Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz. And then Commissioner Martin, I'm curious, are there any areas of the city that you're concerned about as far as being passable for motorists with the lifting of the ban?
Tim, I'll say that my full focus today, as it has been during the duration of the storm, has been to serve the needs of the residents of the city of Buffalo and get our city back open. I'm reminded today that we are in Kwanzaa, that today is the 3rd day of Kwanzaa, which is collective work and responsibility, meaning that we should all be working together to uplift the community, to build up the community, and that's been my focus. Commissioner Martin?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. In terms of the question related to any one area of the city, there is not one area that we have a particular concern of. We've been having equipment all over the city, all parts of the city, north, south, east, and west. There are individual spots in each of those areas throughout the city where there might be a larger snow pile, or we've had one pass that we're still waiting to clear fully. So not one particular, because we've had that equipment scattered everywhere, but you will find particular spots here and there where there is a little bit more cleanup to do so.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. We have our next question from Jesse Kirsch. Jesse, you could go ahead and unmute.
Yep. Thank you very much, Mayor. Appreciate your time tonight. Jesse Kirsch with NBC News. I have a question first for the police department. I was wondering if you guys could give us an update on how many checks for missing persons you are still looking into at this hour. Give us a sense of how many people might still be out there unaccounted for. And then I have a question for the mayor as well. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have the exact number of how many we've gone. The calls that have come in, we have gotten through all of those calls. There were a number of 911 calls for stranded motorists, calls for check the welfare houses. There were also a number of 911 calls related to dead bodies. Some of those dead body calls that we responded to, we were not able to find anything. Some of that was because of the amount of snow and vagueness to exactly where someone may have spotted somebody. So we are going to get back to those areas, especially with some of the snow melting, and we will keep hitting those areas and backtracking. So I don't have exact numbers, but we have cleared the backlog of all the calls. We are now going back and doing our double and triple checks.
For those double and triple checks, sir, do you have an estimate? Are we talking about a handful, dozens? I mean, how many people do we think are believed to be dead and still out there?
Single digit numbers. We believe there were some credible 911 calls that contain more information, the low single digit numbers. So that's why we're going to concentrate our efforts on hitting those areas.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And then for the mayor, sir, if I'm just curious, because we're coming up on, it's going to be about 6 days since people would have started bunkering down on Friday. If the conditions on the roads as they were right now were like this on day one after a storm ended, would you still be opening the roads, or are we now at a stage where it's just frankly more of a risk to keep people from being able to restock their fridges and their medicine cabinets, you know, compared to the risk they pose by getting on the roadways right now?
Today and yesterday, I've been driving around the city looking at the condition of roads myself. Commissioner Martin has been driving around the city. Commissioner Gramaglia has been driving around the city. We've made a determination from those views, from talking to our workers out in the field and our plow drivers, that conditions are such that the driving ban can be lifted. We're going to keep a travel advisory in place because there will still be heavy equipment doing work, but many streets are passable. Most streets are passable in the city of Buffalo, and by the end of tonight, every residential street should have at least one pass down the center of the street, some residentials more. So we feel very comfortable lifting the travel ban. It has been 6 days. Some people have not been able to restock groceries, to restock medications, to get to medical appointments, and being able to lift the travel ban safely now will allow people to do those important things.
And so just to clarify, did the timeline at all factor into this? You know, again, 6 days is a long time to ask people to stay off the roads. They may not have been prepared. You know, people we've met were not prepared for this, did not believe it would take this long, you know, or it would not have been this big of a storm. So did that factor in at all in making the decision today versus maybe having wanted to wait a little bit longer?
We're always concerned about the needs of the public. We feel that roads are passable enough and good enough condition that the travel ban can be lifted. If we didn't feel that it was safe, if we didn't feel that things were in condition where people could operate motor vehicles safely, we would not lift the travel ban as of 12:01 tomorrow morning. But we feel that roads are in good shape. We know that it has been 6 days, a harsh historic blizzard. We've been plowing for the last 2 days because the first few days of our operation were all devoted to life safety, rescuing stranded motorists, as Commissioner Gramaglia mentioned, doing check the welfares, welfare checks, emergency medical services, focus, working with National Grid to get the power restored to homes. But dedicated plowing the last couple of days has gone very well, and we're very pleased with being able to lift the travel ban at 12:01 a.m.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, our next question is from Kelly Holland. Kelly, you go ahead and unmute.
Quick questions for you. Any updates on the 190, 198, 33 and Route 5 reopening? And then also, it's been a long and difficult 7.5 months for the city of Buffalo and the surrounding areas, going back to May 14th and what happened that day. What message do you have, for the city of Buffalo as we start to wrap up this cleanup and move into 2023?
We've been working in constant communication and coordination with the state of New York. I think very shortly, the state will be putting out an announcement for all state roadways. That should be coming out shortly. But we have been coordinating with the state. And one of the reasons that we're comfortable lifting the travel ban is because of the work that city plows have been able to do with state plows, state assistance, county plows, county assistance, and the mutual aid from many other municipalities locally and across the state, including the town of Amherst, the city of Rochester, the city of Syracuse, and so many other municipalities that have been helpful. My message for the residents of Buffalo and Western New York is thank you for coming together. Thank you for your strength and resilience. This community has gone through a great deal. The May 14 act of domestic terrorism fueled by racial hatred was very painful for the community, but people wrapped their arms around each other and came together and kept each other lifted up. The last couple of months, we've had 3 storms, 2 of them historic in nature. This blizzard of 2022, very deadly, losing 28 members of the Buffalo community and more in the county. Very, very painful, but in typical City of Good Neighbors fashion, people have come together, they've assisted each other, neighbors have helped neighbors, friends have helped friends, and members of this community have helped people that they have never met before. Again, in this storm, if not for the heroic actions of police and fire and plow drivers and state police and National Guard and so many others, residents helping residents, the loss of life through this storm would have been much greater. So 2022, very tough year. We're looking for a better year, a more prosperous year in 2023, and we will build this community together again. Today is the 3rd day of Kwanzaa, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. And I know that as a community in 2023, we will redouble our efforts to show our collective work and responsibility to lift up and continue to build this great city.
Okay, we've got one more question from Channel 4. Channel 4, you could go ahead and unmute.
Good evening, Mayor. Colin Tong here from Channel 4. Last storm, during the cleanup efforts, we saw a tragic accident over in the South Buffalo area, McKinley and Tift. Tomorrow morning, with all these cars probably going back to work, what should we expect for the commute in terms of high lifts, plows, even police presence on the roads to prevent anything like that from happening again?
Commissioner.
So in regard to this this cleanup effort, we have a lot of resources on the ground, certainly thanks to Governor Hochul. We've got state police and or local police and National Guard providing traffic assistance. So even if you're out tonight, as I have been driving around, we have state police who are in active connection with crews. So we'll have that same kind of traffic control in place, certainly across the city. There'll be a lot of equipment operating. So we'll have protection in place, but again, from a resident's perspective, we just ask that everybody use caution when driving around.
Thank you, everyone. That will conclude our briefing for this evening. Thank you very much.